Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's episode of the World of Gaming. Yeah, we are back after taking a break last week. Sorry we had to skip that, but we are back this week with a slightly unhealthy, wandering Dutch who has COVID, actually, man. How are you doing?
I've had better days. I've had better weeks. But yeah, COVID aside and being short on breath and things like that, I'm all right. I'm getting better. So I thought I'd let you take the reins this week, and we'll get back to it slowly but surely. And I've just noticed my audio isn't working on my stream, so I'll have to do that again.
All right. So you have to
Terrific.
adjust that.
Everybody on my stream, you can hear me now. Apologies for that.
Yeah. We decided to.
Aside from the COVID, sorry, we're dual
please.
streaming here on mine and Boxy's stream. So for people on Boxy's stream, we're doing a dual stream because obviously I've been off for a while with my mental health and now COVID, and I'm sweating profusely at the second. You'll have to just ignore that. But my voice is a bit worse for wear today, so you'll have to bear with us. So I've let Boxy take the reins.
Oh. I'm not sure.
I'll do what I can.
I'm not sure if I'm up for that, but I do my best. Because we have a lot to talk about. Obviously, we missed a couple of topics last week, but this week has also not been short on news and stuff to talk about. So, yeah, today we definitely going to talk about the PS5 Slim, and man, I have a lot to say about that. As does our community. I see you guys in the chat already talking about that. We will talk about FSR coming to consoles. We will talk about a new partnership from AMD and Microsoft regarding AI, which could be potentially very interesting. We have, of course, a couple of news regarding ABK, which seems to close tomorrow, man. Then we have Disney and EA and Max Payne news, Nintendo Switch news, and so much more. So, yeah, let's get this show on the road. But first, of course, I need to welcome also our communities on your chat and on mine, because again, we are co-streaming because obviously your channel has been a little bit empty and YouTube really does not like that. So we decided to just stream it on both channels so that Dutch's channel is not getting out of the algorithm, man. The algorithm. But other than that, welcome to you guys in the chat. And of course, welcome to everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or on the podcast services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And man, we have been seeing quite a good growth over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So we guys appreciate you. It really doesn't matter.
Eventually updated for mine the other day, and apparently I've got 8.
Ooh. No, man.
So
we are now in the triple digits on both. So
nice.
Which is pretty cool for such a small show like ours. So guys, that's all thanks to you, and we appreciate you all. And before we actually start the show properly, I need to shout out Pyromat, who already sends in the first super chat of the day with the £2 and says, "Get well soon, Dutch. Much love from the World of Gaming community." Yeah, man, we all hope for a swift recovery of our resident Viking here. So, yeah, Pyro, thank you. And Dutch, since you've been sick, have you actually been playing something?
I played a little bit. I played a little bit of Forza and a smidge of Starfield. But I haven't had much time on either, to be fair. I think I've maybe managed to get about an hour in Forza.
All right.
And probably about the same in Starfield.
Oh, okay.
Finished off the not the Crimson. Kind of the Crimson Fleet, the one where you're undercover. I finished off that quest.
Yeah, the United Colonies undercover mission.
Yeah, it went a bit west for me. and ended up fighting against them.
Oh, okay.
So
It's sweet.
So yeah, in Forza, yeah, I did the opening segment and one other competition.
So what's your first impression there?
It's good. The handling's definitely different. You could definitely the car feels a little bit weightier. You definitely feel more of the road.
Yeah.
You feel like you have to put a little bit more effort behind where you want the car to be a little bit more protective of what you're doing with the brakes and the driving and whether or not you're hitting the curbs or not, because everything can literally make a massive difference to how the car handles and how it operates on the track.
Yeah.
So it's vastly different to Forza 7 in the way it feels, and that's the key thing. Graphically, I haven't, to be honest, it looks good. Don't get us wrong, but I wasn't blown away. I don't know whether or not that's just me, but my first impression of Forza was it's great, but I'm not blown away by it.
Yeah. See, actually, we have a community question that we usually do at the very end, but since you bring it up, where is it? Siki actually wrote that question in. Do you guys really think Motorsport really looks better than Forza Horizon? I saw trees from the side and they look like they are from the 360 era. Well, I wouldn't go that far, Siki, but I've noticed it too. Don't get me wrong. The game looks absolutely stunning. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't know. It can also look a little flat at some point, especially when you have good weather and there's no contrast from reflections of the sky boxes and so on your cars. Don't get me wrong, it absolutely looks phenomenal, and especially if I've seen so many people do that on Twitter actually, turn off the entire HUD, and then if you drive through the rain, it looks phenomenal. It's almost photorealistic. But yeah, especially with the environments, I would have also expected a little bit more. It's not that I'm disappointed, but I kind of expected a little bit more. And of course, if you go back to Forza Horizon 5, there are certain things, of course, in the lighting that are simply better in Motorsport. Ray tracing helps out a lot with a couple of things like self-reflection of the car of itself in the body, but overall, Forza Horizon just looks, with the diversity of the environments and everything, just a little bit more breathtaking. There were a lot more wow moments for me in Horizon than I had so far in Forza Motorsport. Other than that, I think it's phenomenal for a sim racer, and I'm usually not a sim racer guy. I'm definitely more of an arcade guy.
I always take sim races. Me and you are kind of the same. We take sim races in chunks. Yes. So I'll play like a one career season, and then I'll put it down and I'll play something else. Yeah. And I'll come back to it and I'll play another career season another time, and I'll just slowly chip away at it over time. It's not a game I'll play constantly because it's just the same after the same after the same. I can appreciate people who might want to play online and things, and I've seen Forza Irwin's loving the online, and from what I'm hearing, the online's super fun and it's really competitive, which is good to hear. But yeah, it's not. I'm not, like you said, the game looks great, looks fantastic. It looks as good as you think a Forza can look like. But I think you brought up a good point there. I think it's because the environments, all aside from the weather changes, in broad daylight it looks a little bit flat. Yeah. And in bad weather it looks great with all the different reflections and with rain and things like that. That's great. But the environments all look same, so it doesn't really pop out and stand out like a Forza Horizon did. Because at least with Forza Horizon, you've got like the desert and you've got the jungle and then you've got the city and you've got the towns and you've got the motorways and random grasslands
and the beaches and everything,
and canyons, and So it's a bit different that way. So it's got a little bit more to wow you with, and the grand vistas. But when you're on a track, it's just how good are the tracks looking and how good are the cars. And outside of that, unless those things don't really like jump out, then it looks great, but it's not something that really And it's not for a change. It's also not something I would probably put on first to showcase what a console can do. I'd probably put something else on.
I agree there. And that's what we've been hoping for, right? With Forza Motorsport. Listen, what I do think stands out is really the sound design. They have excelled there. Like this got to be one of the best spatial audio implementations I've heard so far. The engines of especially not your own but the other cars, like when they overtake you, you know, when they are behind you, this is so well done. It's also traced audio lines, and they have really excelled there. And also I feel like the audio recording itself has improved significantly. Yeah, if you hear the roaring of the engines, it's like, whoo, they've stepped up their game there a lot. And like you said, the cars, it feels different, and I appreciate that because you can really tell that they've invested a lot into, okay, how can we make this as realistic feeling as possible? And I think it is a fantastic sim racer, no doubt. And yeah, man, Xbox is on a good streak now towards the end of this year. After
I was going to say though, aside from, like I say, graphically, I was just expecting
a little more.
To say that I was expecting a smidge more, but on the actual racing side of things, I love it. It's a really responsive, really great handling, very competitive racer, and I've noticed even with the AI specifically, I like that you can choose the place on the track to make it more difficult for you to try and catch up. I always personally stick to like anywhere between 14th and 15th. I don't go all the way to the back, but I'm just behind the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
And fight my way up from there to give a little bit. And I'm always within the top 3 when I'm doing that as well. And I've always got it on like difficulty 5. So difficulty 5 and then roundabout middle of the pack is where I usually fight against. So
sweet.
It's a competitive game. I like it. I like the way they've done it. I can understand why people might or might not like the upgrade system on it, because the upgrade system's a bit
See,
different.
I do like it because I don't have the patience to go into all the settings and, you know, fine tune this and that. And I like to just bam, auto upgrade and move on and drive the next race. But yeah, I do get what you're saying, man. I do get what you're saying. It is a great game. Honestly, I forgot to record some footage. Otherwise, I would have put on some footage. So we're putting on some other footage here from the other game that I've been playing lately. Well, actually, since we haven't had a podcast last week, I actually finished Starfield. Oh. Well, you know what I mean with finished. I played all the faction quests, did all the companion quest lines, a good chunk of the side quests, and then finished the main story and moved into New Game Plus, which is it's got to be one of the, if not the best implementations of a New Game Plus in any game ever. Like the way how it ties into the story, and you move on, and you not spoiling anything, but you get to make a certain decision when you move into New Game Plus, which is honestly, I saved it before I made the decision. I saved the game, and I did first option 1, then I decided 2 or 3 hours into New Game Plus. Nah, I'm going back and doing option 2. You know, it is phenomenally done. And Starfield is just so incredible. Still playing it, not as, you know, intensive as I did it with my first playthrough. It's going to transition over like to how I did it probably with Skyrim, you know, where this is just my comfort game. Going to boot it up, enjoy it. And now I know what to do, what not to do, what different decisions to make, and I'm loving it. Man, it is my game of the year so far. It is just such a phenomenal game, and honestly, the story blew me away towards the ending, the twists there, and I could talk on forever. But I also started Assassin's Creed Mirage, man. That also came out, and I actually put on some footage of AC Mirage, and what can I say? I'm a little torn here. They have improved the stealth mechanics significantly. It feels much more, you know, like the first Assassin's Creed games, where you actually feel like an assassin. But they significantly downgraded the combat. Like the combat got to be the worst in like probably all the AC games, and that should tell you something. It's like, especially after they actually quite nailed combat in Valhalla, I feel like this is really a step backwards. But I know why they did it. This game is not meant to be played as, you know, going in and just hack and slash your way through the forts to liberate or whatnot. This is meant to be played as a stealth game, you know, like an assassin game, and it is much more linear. I mean, it still is pretty big, and it has certain open world elements. You know, there you can explore Baghdad freely, and you find your random side stuff, and you have can upgrade your weapons again and stuff like that. That's all in the game. But it feels much more streamlined and more linear, which, especially coming off of Baldur's Gate 3, and after Baldur's Gate, I started Starfield, and I'm going to head into Spider-Man next week. And, you know, in between those massive open world games, this is an appreciated, you know, distraction. And so I do really like that. So far, the story is okay. You know, the good thing is, at least I would say I don't know, I would have to look up, but I'm 8 to 10 hours or so into the game now, and so far no modern day story parts. You know, they got rid of the animus stuff, and it is just you in Baghdad, man. And I love that, because it annoyed the hell out of me in the last 3 open world games, where the modern day storyline is just so artificial. I loved the story of Ezio, where it actually tied into the game, and it was a meaningful modern day era's questline. And and in the last couple of Assassin's Creed games, they felt so, oh, we have to put in modern day stuff. How do we do that? Okay, we interrupt your game, and then you have to read 3 emails in modern day era and move on to the actual game. And they have removed that so far. Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, so I like that a lot. But the story, it's not blowing my mind. It's an okay story. Yeah. And overall, I would say so far I can recommend it, because it's not a full price game. It's a €50 game, which seems to me like a fair price point. The game is still pretty big. It is, again, like a massive improvement on stealth. It's really good doing the stealth stuff, and yeah, I'm having a blast with it. I hope I can finish it before, you know, Spider-Man 2 comes out. So yeah, that's basically what I've been playing. But man, we are already now like what, more than 20 minutes into the show, and we need to catch up on some
Indeed.
supers on your channel as well as on
Yes,
mine. Please
indeed.
go ahead, man.
First shout out to Fanto, sir, who's been a mix-up Valkyrie for 19 months now. Shout out to Fanto there. Says, not the size of the show, it's what you do with it that counts. So appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that.
Another one as well, Stuffed Sean, who's been a mix-up berserker there for 18 months. It's great to see Dulce Nederlands, Betringa, back at it. I tried. Do you know what we need? A Halo or Forza community night. Pew pew, vroom vroom. Yeah, agreed.
Agreed there. Definitely agreed. All right, and then we got Paul Drew sending in a £5 super chat and says, "So good to see two of my three favorite podcasters back tonight. The third being Boom, of course. Have a great show, guys. Man, we appreciate you. I didn't know. We one of your favorite podcasters here. That means a lot. And I do hope all the other guys also enjoy the show. And if you do so, don't forget to smash that like button. It's free and it helps us out a lot. And of course, if you're new here, consider subscribing. We definitely would appreciate that. But yeah, Dutch, man, let's get into some topics here. And you know what? Let's just start with Activision Blizzard and a couple of things that happened there. Because, well, I hope you have followed the news a little. If not, I'm gonna catch you up. There's the rumor going around that it's actually going to be over tomorrow. Yeah. It looks like the decision from the CMA is imminent, and that they can finalize it by Friday this week. So that's tomorrow. And for those who listen after the fact, it's probably already happened. So that's. I mean, we are all pretty excited for when it's done. But we also learned this week a couple of things. What might or might not happen in terms of Game Pass after this deal, because we all expect like a lot of games to drop in there. And Activision actually tweeted out this week a couple of things and giving a status update there for the plans of Game Pass. They tweeted out, "It's awesome to see anticipation building for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 as we continue to work toward regulatory approval of the Microsoft deal. We've been getting some questions whether our upcoming and recently launched games will be available in Game Pass. While we do not have plans to put Modern Warfare 3 or Diablo 4 into Game Pass this year, once the deal closes, we expect to start working with Xbox to bring our titles to more players around the world, and we anticipate that we would begin adding games into Game Pass sometime in the course of next year." Jess Corden also had a couple of things to say on that. That while this might be true for recent titles, it does not, according to his sources, include like older releases. So, Dutch, what do you expect if it ends tomorrow? What are we going to see in the near-term future in terms of Activision games and Game Pass?
Don't think we'll see any new titles or newer titles in there. They've mentioned specifically Diablo and Call of Duty. Now we kind of expect that anyway, because they've mentioned themselves specifically that they want to kind of get as much of the sales stuff done out the way of.
Yeah.
So I think they want to try and get the Christmas period out the way of. Call of Duty specifically wants to have as many people playing that new Call of Duty and buying new Call of Duty before Christmas. So those both won't go in there then. But I think the near term, things like your Tony Hawk's remastered, things like your Spyro trilogy, your Crash trilogy, your Crash Team Racing, all of that type of thing. Those titles are the ones we could see into Game Pass over the initial coming months, along with probably a horde of back titles, a lot of the older stuff, maybe it's a few old Call of Duties that we've seen there, like the ones that had a revert, like a random burst of player counts when they put the servers back up randomly. Kind of those older titles we'll probably see back there as well. Those are the things I think we'll see, and I think some of the bigger ones that can hit immediately will be the likes of Tony Hawk's or Spyro, etc.
Yeah, that's basically what we all hope. Sorry, I was a little distracted here by our awesome community in the chat. With William Lancer saying, almost forgot to give Boxenberger a like, even though he's a part-time podcaster. That's what we call people in the US, part-time, because they only show to work 3 days of 5. So yeah, you could say that about me podcasting, but luckily I don't do that with my real job. I show up there every day. And that's actually why we sometimes can't make it, because this is a hobby. We do this out of passion, and we actually have a job that pays the bills. So,
thankfully,
because
this doesn't.
Nope,
not even close.
Not even close. We're doing good in terms of covering, the costs that this actually does, but not much more. So. But yeah, Activision Blizzard. I mean, I was a little surprised about that tweet, because they basically write if you take them serious, what they tweeted there, we won't see any Activision Blizzard games at all this year, and then we will see like some of the older titles coming in next year. But I still would be really surprised if it takes them, assuming of course they are closing tomorrow. I would be surprised if they wouldn't release something for the Christmas period in Game Pass. You want in the Christmas season, you want the Game Pass to look as attractive as possible. And now they have the Starfield in there, and they have the Forza Motorsport in there, and all these other titles that are already in there, and adding something shiny, like you said, the Spyro, and I mean, Tony Hawk, one of the best Activision games ever released. I stand by that. That remaster or remake that they released like 4 or 5 years ago was simply phenomenal. So I could definitely see them do that. In terms of Call of Duty and Diablo, I was always like the entire year, like, okay, they're going to release Diablo right before Christmas, along with a new season or something, and then give this game like a second wind. But I feel like this took them longer than expected. I mean, Microsoft obviously did not think that in the middle of October they are still not having closed this deal. And so I'm not sure if they want to do that then, or if they want to use it like as a big boost somewhere next year. I don't know. Obviously, with Call of Duty, they are bound to these weird as Sony contracts, and they probably won't be able to release that. Next year's Call of Duty could be a different discussion, even though Sony still has the deal, the marketing deals for them. I am still not sure what was in that negotiation when Jim was still around and he signed the 10-year deal. If I would have been Microsoft at that point, I would have said the deal is only on the table if you remove your Game Pass clauses and stuff like that. So let's see about that. But I still don't know about some of the older Call of Duties. You could also bring in those, and we've seen, like, when was it, 6 weeks ago or so, when Microsoft reactivated some of the servers of the older Call of Duty, and how they saw the player boost there. Why not do that right before Christmas? Because that's when you want obviously, like in December, you want to look Game Pass at its best, and then go out and advertise the hell out of it. Starfield is in the Forza Motorsport is in there, and all these Activision games, even though they might be older, they still have like recognizable characters like Spyro and
I was going
Crash.
to say specifically with the older Call of Duties, like there's always people, and we know what the Call of Duty community is like. They'll love the new Call of Duty like immensely for like a week, and then everyone will hate on it, and they'll say they wish it was like old Call of Duty again. Then they'll wish the old Call of Duty would be back up. And then there's Game Pass comes in, and we've got all the Call of Duties here.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win situation. Like people will buy Call of Duty because everyone always buys Call of Duty anyway.
Yeah.
And then they'll also be able to jump on Game Pass and play the old Call of Duties because they get fed up of the new one and like to complain about them. So it's a win-win for Call of Duty fans on that front.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. So yeah, let's see how literal we have to take that statement from Activision that there won't be any games at all this week. But Bobby Kotick also talked or why we are, before we get to Bobby Kotick, while we're on the topic, by the way, they also the Activision president said this week also about Call of Duty something that it could get actually better now that it's under Microsoft. He said, as we've said previously, this deal is good for the industry and will bring more games to more players. In terms of access to resources, being able to tap into Microsoft technology and suite of tools would benefit our teams to create even greater, more immersive experiences for our own players. Ultimately, it's about bringing our development team's creative visions to life in this hyper-competitive environment. The prospect of joining Microsoft is an extraordinary opportunity for our teams and our players, and we look forward to an outcome soon. So, yeah, Activision obviously already looking at like the shared technology pool over there and on the Microsoft side. So, you know what came to my mind when I read that? The Call of Duty engine is actually still running on id Tech code. Yeah. After id 4, they took the id engine 4. We are now at 7. The last Doom ran on id 7, by the way, and they took id 4 and obviously adjusted a lot of things and took the code, and now it's become basically an own engine. But at its core, it's id. And guess who's in that family now? So what do you think, man? What could they tap into?
Yeah, I mean they could use an updated. It depends on how well their optimizations for id 4 could translate into the new id 7, or whether or not maybe they could just use id 7 or id 8, whatever the new id is. It'll be id 8 next.
It'll be id 8. That was basically leaked in the big Xbox leak that there's an id 8 coming, and the next Doom is going to run on 8. So
yeah, it's a good possibility that future Call of Duty titles could run on id 8. I mean, in terms of how good and how quick id is as a shooter engine, we all know that from Doom Eternal. I mean, that thing runs like 120 frames, 4K, ray traced, you name it, bells and whistles. That thing's insane.
Yeah.
They did it perfectly.
Well, the ray tracing is only in the 60 FPS mode, but come on,
well, there we
4K
go.
60
still,
with RT.
4K 60 RT.
Yeah.
Or 122K or something, was it? I don't know.
I think it was, it was 1440. I don't remember exactly, so don't quote us on this. Yeah.
Yeah, it was still, the engine was
still impressive, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it's as a shooter engine, it would absolutely be worthwhile evolving what they have for Call of Duty just to just make it a little bit better. It's not to say Call of Duty doesn't feel good as a shooter, because Call of Duty is still one of the best feeling shooters out there.
Yeah.
But leveraging id Tech would definitely help them significantly, I think, on both the graphical front, because let's face it, id Tech is graphically one of the showpiece engines, but also on the performance side of things, because id Tech's never really run bad.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they managed to get a lot of their games running very well on Switch is testament to the engine.
Oh yeah. It runs at 60 on the Switch, man.
That's insane.
It's crazy. Yeah, so agree, man. Let's see. I mean, yeah, we know that the Xbox studios work together. Obviously, we've heard the coalition is helping out everywhere, man. With you name it, State of Decay, with everything they are helping out because they simply master the Unreal Engine. But there's still plenty of other things that they can leverage on, like they have this shared audio technology now across their studios. There's obviously the the animation studio that was founded by Undead Labs that is supposed to help out with state-of-the-art motion capture for like all kinds of Xbox upcoming games. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they can use, and let's see what they make of it. We also learned this week from Bobby Kotick, man, that he was in an interview with Mr. Corden, not Chess Corden. I actually don't know the role of Corden within Activision. But they kind of hinted at a Guitar Hero revival, man. Would you be up for that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've in fact the other day I was dropped off an old DJ Hero controller as well.
Oh,
That I had
nice.
lying around. But yeah, I love Guitar Hero. In fact, I've got installed Guitar Hero 3 on PC the other month as well because I missed it. So I've got Guitar Hero 3 installed on PC as it stands and just play it with a controller every now and again. Modded, of course, so I've got all the tracks unlocked and all the DLC and everything. So, but yeah, it's I absolutely loved the game. It's childhood memories is what Guitar Hero is, and then you're talking about what was it? Guitar Hero, and then was it Rock Band was the one
Rock
after
Band.
that?
I mean, Listen, Rock Band. That was like, I was living in a dorm when I went to the university, and we had like these parties with like, I don't know, 20 people coming together, and then there was on the one side we had Rock Band, on the other side we had Guitar Hero, and getting drunk all night and seeing who's the best drummer, who's the best guitarist, and those were the times, man. So I wonder how it would hold up for me in this day and age, because, well, it's just been so long, but I kind of miss it and I want to see it come back because it's a phenomenal concept that still has not been topped by any other music game. So yeah.
It was the same for me. It was like college moments there, like going to a friend's house and really late nights. Just I think it was like the big shisha pipe and having drinks and
right. It was the shisha times.
It was the shisha times. Remember those? But my friends,
those.
my friend's parents. I think everyone might have had one of these, but one of my friend's parents were from the UAE, so they had an apartment on the Palm Tree Island, the island they built in the UAE that's shaped like a palm tree. They had a house there, so the vast majority of the time they were there. So he was just at home, just whatever.
Okay.
So it was just basically just all night, either drinking on weekends and shisha and playing Rock Band and just relaxing. But yeah, that's what it reminds us of. It's good times.
Yeah. So yeah, we shall see, man. If it turns out to be true, and when this will come out and how it will hold up. It's definitely something interesting to see to come back to. So yeah, really looking forward to that. So yeah, man. Tomorrow Let's see, man. Let's see. I do hope that this is true and that it will actually be over tomorrow, and that we turn on our phones tomorrow morning and see, all right, they have closed the deal. Screw the FTC. They've started filing some weird ass investigation again. While at the same time, the EU actually dropped their investigation because normally they would have to do the investigation again because in the EU, because obviously the deal is now different, so you kind of formally have to investigate, but they just screw this and move on, and I have no idea what the FTC is doing over there. So yeah, let's see what this is going to be tomorrow. But Dutch, let us move on to something else. Just go to take a quick note for the timestamps because people love those. And we want to give it to them after the show. So Disney and EA. Have you seen this, man? For those who have, for those who have not, the Disney boss is kind of looking to get Disney more involved into gaming, rather instead of licensing them out. So for the last, I don't know, what is it now, 12? I want to say 12 years or so, when they closed all their internal gaming studios, and ever since, for more than a decade now, they've been basically licensing out games. So obviously Star Wars to EA for 10 years, and then we had like all the Marvel stuff and so on. It's all been licensed games for them, and they kind of want to look into becoming like a majority publisher again. And it is they have definitely looked into an acquisition there from EA. Yeah, so to transform them into this powerhouse gaming developer. So man, Dutch, what do you think? I mean, we know that it's acquisition season left and right in the gaming industry. It's not just Microsoft. Everyone is acquisition or buying studios. And what do you think, man? Would this be a good fit? What do you think?
Partially, it might make sense for them to buy maybe Respawn from EA, but I don't think the entirety of EA needs to be, because like the rest of EA outside of Respawn, what have we actually got left?
I mean, you've got BioWare.
But what BioWare done recently? And they've let go of a lot of people. The talent that was at BioWare isn't
BioWare isn't BioWare anymore. That's obvious.
That's a lot of these studios that we fondly remember are just shadows of the former selves.
Yeah.
And not once the kind of capitalize. I think sometimes a lot of these historic studios capitalize on the pedigree of what once was and what they once produced, as opposed to the games that they're actually capable of doing these days.
Yeah.
And that's the issue with a lot of people and buying video games now, is everyone's kind of used to, okay, it's BioWare, so we should get greatness, or it's this studio, so we should get greatness. But if the same people aren't in charge and the same staff aren't there that created the great stuff in the first place, you're not going to get the same stuff. It's going to be different. It's going to be vastly different to what you're used to in both the storytelling and otherwise. So don't expect the same BioWare tripes.
Although the things we have been hearing so far for Dragon Age as well as Mass Effect actually does sound to me good. We hear that Mass Effect apparently, take it all with a grain of salt, of course, it's just rumors out there on the streets, but that they move away from the open world, and go back to like the original trilogy kind of style of game. The party system is apparently becoming much more relevant again in Dragon Age. So I do hear what you're saying, and I totally agree. BioWare isn't the same anymore. The people that made Dragon Age great and that made Mass Effect masterpiece are not there anymore. But yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. So like
Tenoros in the
Respawn,
chat says DICE. Right, I always forget about DICE because they haven't shined either over the last, I want to say, at least 7-8 years. Yeah.
and then you've just got a bunch of sports studios.
That's the thing. So when you look at the acquisition from EA, pardon me, from Disney, what would Disney get?
If they were smart about it, you would just go for Respawn and just say, listen, here's a part, we want to purchase that studio. Yeah. That's the one that's actually doing good things. That's if they want to make good games in their franchises, like the Avatars, I mean, of course, we don't know what the new Avatar is going to look like.
But Avatar is Ubisoft, man.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So far.
Yeah, okay.
But if they want, in the future, if they want to make a good story game, they've got proof now that at least Respawn, twice off the bat, have made a really good Jedi game, really good Star Wars game. So they know they're capable.
And they are also working on 2 other Star Wars games, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So they've already got proof there that Respawn can do that. So it's just a case of, okay, so do we get a BioWare and see if they can make some form of like RPG in the Star Wars universe for us? But then the only reason they would get the sports studios would just be to make money, because outside of that, they won't be creating them anything to do with their IP. Nothing that's worthwhile. And they've already ditched a lot of their sports stuff on the Disney front anyway. They've got rid of a lot of the sports side of Disney because it's not profitable, not as much as they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So from an acquisition point of view, for both sides, for Disney, it would be Respawn, maybe's BioWare. For the others, for EA, it would be a case of, okay, we make lots of money on our sports franchises. We don't make that much money off of Respawn and BioWare.
Yeah.
So we could probably cash in, make quite a significant chunk off Disney, and it would be a win-win on both sides. And for everybody, for every platform, Respawn would have the money. They wouldn't have anything anybody telling them what to do. They would just be given IPs. They would have the money. They would have the safety, and they would remain multi-plat because Disney don't care about exclusivity, and they don't care about the money that comes behind that because they're richer than any of these companies that could, well, other than Microsoft, richer than any of the platforms that could possibly give them anything. So, yeah, I think it could work both ways, but yeah, we'll see. You're muted, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Okay. We are back to our old traditions, right? Me forgetting to unmute, and yeah, I mean, you bring up a lot of great points. When I heard this, 2 things came to my mind. The first is, of course, well, if they are serious to get into gaming big time and become like a powerhouse game developer, which kind of makes sense for them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Disney is an entertainment company. What they do, series, movies, and so on, they have some of the most beloved franchises and IPs in the world. So gaming is the biggest entertainment format in the world. Yeah, there's more money to be made with or the worldwide revenue from gaming is bigger than music, movie, and books combined. And So it kind of makes sense for them to get big time into gaming. And now they could just try to get like 10, 15 studios, 20 studios started from scratch. But you know that this would never work. So if they are serious about getting into gaming, which kind of makes sense that you do become a third-party publisher, obviously, like you said, no, they have no intention of doing exclusive stuff. Yeah, it kind of makes sense for them to buy a bigger publisher. And who's left out there now that ABK is basically owned by Microsoft? Bethesda is owned by Microsoft. They could go after Ubisoft. They could go after EA. They won't go after any of those Japanese publishers, Square, Sega, and so on. It's not what they would do. I mean, I know that they have what's it called with Square, with Mickey Mouse and Donald and God, I'm blanking. Kingdom Hearts. They have that from Japanese developers, but that's about it. Obviously, they are more Western-oriented company, and that's fine. But so yeah, who would you get? Like, if you want to become big-time publisher, you kind of have to go after Ubisoft or EA. Warner Brothers would never sell to them. So yeah, who's left in terms of bigger publishers?
You're saying that though, but if the checkbook's big enough,
yeah, that's true. True that. Yeah, that is very true. But so yeah, but then on the other side, when you look at the studios that it would be getting, they would not touch the sports games. That would make absolutely no sense. Besides the studios not having proven themselves in being able to do something else than a FIFA and a Madden, they are simply the money printers of the company. That's what drives EA's revenue. Yeah, it doesn't grow them, but it is a stable income, and you would obviously wouldn't be able to change that. Then, on the other hand, you only have like a handful of other studios left. Like we already talked about BioWare, and even them, you would not cancel right away a Dragon Age and a Mass Effect, because those IPs are just too well known and beloved by the gaming community. Even though BioWare might not be the same anymore. But in the grander scheme of, obviously, you would not cancel a Mass Effect and Dragon Age. And you leave alone Respawn. They are already doing your Star Wars games. And what's left? Battlefield. You kill off Battlefield to do, I don't know, a Marvel IP, you know? So I'm not sure. Ubisoft would kind of make more sense in my eyes, honestly, because Ubisoft has so many weird ass games, and they are also big into mobile, or bigger, not big, but definitely bigger than EA in mobile games. And of course, you want to bring like the casual IPs from Disney also to that. So it would kind of make more sense. So I was a little surprised about the EA talk there. But hey, who knows where this is going? We shall see. We shall see. Dutch, let's move on to some tech news. Yeah. So there are actually a couple of tech topics we are going to talk to today. The first is going to be that AMD's FSR3 is now coming to consoles, and I usually am the kind of guy that loves this stuff and makes a video about it. And I was sitting there this week like, do I make a video? But then I kind of looked at what happened with FSR on console with FSR 1 and 2, where basically no one is using it. To be fair, we've seen now over the last 3 months or so more and more games actually use it on console as well, but it's still rarely found in games. Yeah, Starfield had it. Actually, a great implementation of FSR2. So I might just do the video at some point, because I love to talk about this stuff and explain a little bit about how this frame generation thing works. And but yeah, it's now available basically to for console developers. And obviously FSR trying to help reduce the internal resolution of games. It's an upscaling technology. It's a frame generation technology, which is new to FSR, to actually generate frames and not just upscale pixels, you know. And it has been implemented on PC so far only in 2 games, one of them being Immortals of Avium. And the other one is Forspoken. For whatever reason, I don't know. This game was a total flop, but they're still updating with that kind of tech. So, but Immortals of Avium also did it, and it did an okay job, not overly great, but okay, you could say, yeah, first things. The interesting thing is, it is a little limiting thing, because the new technology, the frame generation, actually helps you to push your games from 60 to 120, but it's kind of challenging, almost impossible to boost 30 to 60 FPS, which is what console owners want. Because if you look at games like Starfield, where everyone was like, yeah, I need a 60 FPS mode, yeah, and all these other console games that Gotham Knights, you know, which by the way is now in Game Pass, and I highly recommend everyone to check it out, because a very underrated game. It's not an Arkham game. Yeah, I know that. It's still a fun game though. But yeah, we've seen so many games. Yeah, Redfall, when it came out before the patch, a couple of months later now, last week. We're going to talk about that maybe later. But you know, so many games launch at 60, and everyone on console is hoping, okay, let's push these 30. Not launched at 60. I meant launched at 30, and now everyone is hoping, oh, FSR3 is here, and now we get to the 60 FPS limitation. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. But it definitely does a great job. Still not on the same level of DLSS, but it does a great job when boosting to higher frames. Yeah, and there is one thing I noticed, that it might be challenging actually to implement FSR3 on the PlayStation 5, because FSR is using basically a DirectX 12 based replacement of the swap chain, and so basically it handles the optical flow and the frame generation workloads not synchronously, asynchronously. Is that an English word? I hope so. So it might basically it is a it uses DirectX 12 features, which obviously are not available on the PlayStation 5. So it might not be able to implement that properly. There are, you know, workarounds for Vulkan, but so far AMD has not really detailed that and not made it properly available to devs. And so yeah, the PlayStation 5 might not get it here. But yeah, man, what do you expect? I've been talking for way too long. What do you expect from this AMD's FSR3 technology? And will we see it help console games, man?
I don't mind you talking longer. It's easier for my lungs.
But people, people want to hear proper English and not my weird ass German accent all the time. So
you say proper English though, but I'm northern, so it's a bit different. But yeah, it's I don't. FSR's not really been, again, with it being software based, not hardware based. It's not really. Oh, I'm muted on my side. Whoops. Yeah. So apologies for everybody who's listening there on my stream. For Yeah, it's software based, not hardware based. So it's actually been pretty underwhelming in comparison to NVIDIA. NVIDIA's implementation. So we kind of, whew, we can't expect the same levels, but it has improved with each iteration. However, I think the fact that studios are gradually starting to use FSR a little bit more is a little bit more positive, and I've heard better things about FSR3 than the previous two, and that it's actually starting to do some good things. So
It definitely has
you know,
improved. Yeah.
yeah. So in comparison to what it was in its earlier stages to what it is now, it's great to see it available, but ultimately, like we've said all along, we just need to see everybody using it. And to be fair, I think vast majority of studios could use both forms of these things, and FSR really needs to kick it up because both platforms are using AMD anyway. So yeah, I think we do need to see more studios implementing it. They need to stop focusing, as we've said, on the native side of things and focus more on just trying to get a 2K, using FSR up to 4K or a 1080 up to 2K, just to get that performance mode in. Just use any tools available in order to get the best fidelity with the best performance. And FSR is one of those tools. We've just got to hope that the performance versus the actual engine capability of FSR is going to help them. So
Yeah, agreed. I mean, again, the exciting part about FSR3 is the frame generation side of things, because the upscaling has also improved. But the frame generation is actually the thing where they've shown, models running on PC, of course, models of Avium running at 70 FPS, and with FSR it's boosted to 120 without doing anything about the resolution side of things. That is pretty impressive. And this kind of stuff only helps you with the higher frames, so it could also work on console, obviously, and pushes 60 FPS games to 120, but it will not help with 30 FPS games that we've seen being introduced again now, as we moved on to current gen only games, because we've seen, quite frankly, quite a lot of 60 FPS games in the first 2 years of this console generation, where we still were in like the cross-generational phase. But now that we've seen more current gen only games, 30 FPS have come back more often than we want it to be. But it's still a great thing that FSR3 is now out there in the wilds, and that they made it so quickly available now also on console. And yeah, I do hope we see this implemented really soon, and more often. But like you said, and I want to use that as a segue probably into our next topic, because DLSS is still the king, no doubt. And the thing that DLSS does is it has dedicated hardware. The tensor cores from NVIDIA. It doesn't mean that you cannot let AI algorithms run on AMD hardware. Yeah, it still has the our consoles do have the FP16 capabilities, and you could do AI stuff there. But at the very end, the hardware boosted AI extrapolation from NVIDIA is still king on the market. And there was something very interesting that piqued my eye today, actually. And that is that AMD and actually is going to launch a hardware program next year, where they will get into the AI segment very heavily. And they have already signed orders with Microsoft to partner there. Obviously, mainly for the cloud stuff. But this really piqued my interest. AMD heavily going into AI segment. They said they expect around 10 to 15% of the sales from like Nvidia does in 24, and almost 30% of that same revenue that Nvidia does already in the year 25. And that's heavily related to the partnership that they have with Microsoft. And so it automatically came to my mind. We know that in the leaks there was no, roadmap for an upgraded or mid-gen console refresh on Xbox, the Xbox side of things. There's going to be this slim Xbox Series X that leaked, but no plans so far as we know of for a mid-gen hardware update. And it still came into my head. What do you expect? AMD AI boosted hardware and the heavy and strong emphasis on the partnership with Microsoft. Is this going to be, like the next thing? Because when we talked about mid-gen refresh upgraded consoles, and it's no secret that I would appreciate those, but the counterpoint always was like, what speaks against them? What's the point of them? Last gen, it was different. We had the transition during the Xbox One and PS4 generation from 1080p being the standard in TVs in our homes to 4K screens being the standard that we have in our homes. But this is and we don't have so they kind of made sense, and that's what the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, although it barely ever hit actually native 4K, it was always more like 1440p and checkerboarded. But still, the Xbox One X was heavily sold on 4K. So what would be the point in a mid-gen upgrade this gen? Obviously 4K wouldn't be it, or any resolution bump. 8K is not even close to being a standard in people's homes. So what would be the point? And one thing that could actually be a point, in my opinion, is like, DLSS similar technology, whatever AMD will call it. And now they bring out this AI-based hardware or accelerate or hardware that accelerates AI. Let me put it this way. Next year, they partner up with Microsoft, and obviously it would be a little bit too early to put that in a mid-gen upgraded console next year, like we have the rumored PS5 Pro for next year. So what if Microsoft just waits a little until it upgrade, or even then, who knows when this will be like console ready, even start the next gen early and do this as like the selling point for the next hardware iteration. What do you think, man?
Yeah, it's. I said that before. I said I don't know what the next iteration would be. Now I'm forgetting how much kind of memories in both of these consoles, the PS5 and the Series. Is it 32 gig or is it 64
It's 16.
gig?
It's 16.
If there's anything they're going to do that's going to make a blind bit of difference to any of these consoles, it's crank up the memory significantly. Like even on PCs, the first thing you do when you're upgrading the PC to get more performance out of your PC is to increase the memory significantly. And you always double it. You get rid of the 16, you go 32, at least minimum 32 gig, if not 64 if you can, if you have the space and you have the overhead, because that is a significant change in how everything operates performance-wise.
I actually have 48 gigs in my PC because
That's a
I
weird
also
amount.
built my PC with 16 because of budget limitations, but it annoyed the hell out of me. And 6 months later, I bought another 32 gigs of RAM, and I had the ports, so why throw out the old one? And it's just put in the extra 32 gigs, and now I'm at 48. So
Yeah. So see, I've got 32 in mine, but that's the minimum you should have to do anything like gaming wise. The fact that they're doing anything like that on console with only 60, I don't care if it's DDR6, it's still 16 gig of RAM.
And I
That's
think
not
honestly
enough.
that is the biggest limitation of the Series S.
It
The
is
Series
it's
S
the biggest
only.
limitation of both consoles, I think. PS5 still working fine, don't get us wrong, but the one thing that's really holding them back from getting more performance is the fact that the overhead in memory isn't there, so they're having to use all these tools and technique. Why? Memory doesn't cost that much. It's one of the cheapest items you can do to upgrade any platform. You can get literally 32 gig of DDR4 at 3200 megahertz for £50. That's nothing. When you're talking about mass manufacturing something with memory, you're literally going down into single digit currency because it's mass manufactured.
Yeah.
Double it, double the memory. Like if you're going to do pro consoles, you double it. You do minimum 32, and I think as the standard going forward, you do minimum 32. And if you want to do partitioned, like they have done for both of them now, where Xbox is saying, okay, well, we've got 12 gig for this and 4 gig for this, or whatever they've got partitioned over, then you've got, at least if you've got 32 gig there, then you've got, okay, we've got 20 gig here and we've got 12 gig partitioned, or we've got, you know what I mean, 22 gig here and 10 gig partitioned. At least you've got something. But
Yeah.
16 gigs just not enough in modern terms, really. It just isn't. That's lackluster.
Yeah.
We know the GPU is more than capable, both of them on both sides. The CPUs are capable. I think the memory is definitely a sticking point. And Microsoft's, although the ease of use of the SSD for Microsoft is great. It's also been a sticking point because nobody else is starting to manufacture for them. Now we know Western Digital are making some.
Yeah. But it still
that's
has not
still only
brought.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It still has not brought the prices down as we were hoping for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there needs to be SSD specifically in terms of the implementation of it and the cost, and the memory. The memory's I think that's a massive sticking point.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree there, and I bet that's the main part that the PS5 Pro does, which we all assume is going to happen somewhere at the end of next year. I don't see them moving on to like a significantly higher architecture in terms of GPU or maybe CPU, yeah, but not in terms of GPU, because it would just generate a lot of compatibility issues there. But it's not out of the gate, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see RDNA 3 or something like that. But I think, like you said, that would be the thing. And moving forward after 24, if AMD then has now like accelerated hardware accelerated support for AI computations, and them going or being now able to actually go more in that direction what DLSS does, because let's not forget, next year we will see DLSS 4. Yeah, I think that this is going to be like the real or one of the things that will be like the game changer for the next iteration of hardware beyond the PS5 Pro. Whether it's going to be an Xbox enhanced console that we see, like, I don't know, in 25, 26, which probably wouldn't make sense because then you could just start the next gen in 27 or so. But yeah, this is definitely something I could see the next consoles designs going for, because it just makes sense. And Nvidia has been so industry leading there with their technology. I would be surprised if we wouldn't see like AMD go into a similar direction, because the all software based FSR simply isn't doing the same things. And even then, I have to say, there are other solutions out there like Intel's XeSS, which is also software based and hardware agnostic, but it performs better. In most cases, it performs better. I have a couple of games on my ROG Ally actually, where that do support, like Diablo 4 does support all three DLSS, which obviously doesn't run on the ROG Ally, but you can turn on FSR and you can turn on XeSS, and XeSS just does a better job. More stable frame rates while maintaining a better image quality. So it's kind of time for AMD to move on to like a probably hardware supported solution of an upscaling technology, AI based, again similar to DLSS. And hearing that today, that they have signed a big partnership there with Microsoft, gives me hope. Still, man, I die on that hill. I wish that mid-gen upgrade into existence, even though it's obviously not on the Xbox roadmap, but I just want it. I'm not interested in the PS5 Pro that much. I mean, let's wait first, obviously, what it will actually be. But since I use my PlayStation 5 as my exclusive machine, going to play like the Spider-Man coming next week. But after that, the roadmap is so dry that I have absolutely no idea when I will turn on the PS5 after that, because I'm not going to play a Foam Star.
Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
That's the only time because I'm not getting Spider-Man at launch. It's not something I'm rushing out for. Rebirth is the one that I'm waiting for, but I've got till like March or something for that. So
yeah,
thankfully I've only just got my PlayStation 5 like a couple of months back. So I'm still catching up on like upgraded versions of older games.
Yeah.
And being able to get the trophies and things again for favorite games that I've got. So things that I can play through and keep us busy on it for now, until Rebirth comes out, and then they'll and then we'll be in the dry spot, because after that then there's nothing for a while for me anyway on PlayStation.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's nothing for anyone. Honestly, you're right. I forgot about Rebirth, but that's basically it for the next year. So, and God knows when Wolverine will come out. I mean, I know Insomniac is a powerhouse studio, but them releasing Spider-Man 2 this year and Rift Apart was last year. They just had basically two major back-to-back releases, and so Wolverine is not gonna come in 24. It's probably not even going to come in 25. I see that more of a 26 game. And so yeah, obviously we will have to wait and see what the PS5 Pro turns out to be next year. But thinking about how often I turn on my PlayStation versus I turn on my Xbox, it's a night and day difference, and that's the thing why I want an Xbox upgraded console and not a PlayStation. But and Dustin Lambert in the chat is right. Rift Apart was 2 years ago. Or time flies, man. Time flies. But yeah, let's use that as a segue into our next topic. Since there is actually new PlayStation hardware coming. They announced this week the PS5. What are they actually calling it? They just
The stiletto.
I don't know. It's kind of the Slim that they announced, and it really doesn't do much. It still looks the same. It's only like 3 centimeters smaller or so. And so it's not that really a Slim. They added a black stripe across the white panel, but that's about it. The SSD is slightly increased.
It looks like to me, it looks like the panel's split now.
Yeah, it is split because I was about to get to that. It is split because you can detach the one side and attach, they have an attachable disk drive there. So you can remove the disk drive and that's why the cover is like split in the middle, which actually, this is the one thing that I do like about this. I think that's a great idea because it's always a diverse topic. There are simply disc collectors out there. Not me, not you, I know that. But there are plenty of disc collectors out there. And of course, an all-digital console is not for them. Yeah? So having an option to just attach, your disk drive, this is the one thing that in principle, I do like. They also increased the prices, and this is still so weird to me. It's like slim models are supposed to bring the price down, because that's why they do these slim models. Because 3 years into the generation now, you can manufacture the same chip on half of the die size, which basically and if you look at what a die costs, you pay that per area, not what is on it, but simply the area. And if it has half the size, it costs half, and it is, and of course you save a lot of money on all the cooling systems and everything. So this is why Slims existed ever since for the last 3-4 generations of consoles, and they are supposed to bring the price down, reduce it $100. Sony saves $200. It's a win-win situation for customers and the platform holder. But this time they basically increased the price, and it is. I honestly, okay, it's everyone has increased prices. I get that. Yeah, it's still weird to see for me, like 3 years into the generation, console prices are being raised, even with the release of a Slim, which is supposed to bring the price down. So that kind of sucks. But then the audacity, they have the audacity to charge you $30 extra for the vertical stand. Like, literally, you have to buy the stand for your console so you can put it on your entertainment center separately and pay $30 for it. Like, and people are out there celebrating this.
Not only that though, but then they've just released a bunch of customizable plates that only work for the older model.
Yeah, like they literally came off of one of their biggest like customizable plate campaigns they have ever had with the Spider-Man 2, and then you can't use them. Now you're trying to sell this Slim model to your loyal fan base, charge more for the console, charge extra for the stand. Can't use the customized plates, and I don't know. What do you think? I mean, in terms of hardware, it doesn't really offer anything upgraded except the SSD, which is not even like a major upgrade. It has now 760 or 80 gigs, and they upgraded that to a terabyte, which basically gives you 200 and something gigs extra. and that's
Yeah.
it. Like, we've seen the leaks from Xbox, but and I still say, for me personally, if the leaks are true, the upgrade wouldn't be for me. Like, I'm good with my Series X, but at least there is stuff upgraded. You have a significant increase in SSD storage, double the size. You have like better USB, better Bluetooth, better Wi-Fi. So there are certain upgrades to the leaked Xbox Slim model, outside of a weird look that looks now. But I still believe it is not the actual look. This was like a internal mock-up or something. This is not going to turn out to be how it looks. But anyways, like, this is what you do in a Slim. This really doesn't anything. It's not really slimmer, like only 3 centimeters. Costs more. And I don't know. What do you think, man?
Yeah, it's not worth it, and the fact that they've got the audacity to charge more for it. Not only do they charge more, they're charging more for the base model digital.
Yeah.
And then you've got to buy the stand separately anyway. So then it's more again. It's already 50 more. And then another 30 just for a plastic, 30 for a plastic stand. That's Apple prices. For a little bit of plastic stand, 30. Are they taking the mick? 30 for a stand. And then 80 for a drive.
Yeah.
80 for, wow, where did they get that from? The price difference between the actual disc version and digital version is not 80. So where is the 80 difference for the drive?
I have no idea.
Considering on the actual disc version, I'm sure you can remove the disc drive to turn it into a digital.
On Amazon, you can get external USB drives for around 25 to 30 euros.
Yeah,
and
Blu-ray
that's
drives aren't expensive.
And those guys obviously also make money off of selling this. So if you would if PlayStation would sell it for $30, they would still make money for it. So why charge 80? But yeah.
So I just don't get it. I don't get where the pricing structure is coming from, or why the thought. Like, this is Apple territory, and maybe this is part of the reason. And it sounds strange, but this is maybe part of the reason why Jim has decided to step back and jump out, because there's only so much you can flog ridiculousness consistently, and you know what I mean. Sometimes there's a threshold where you think, like I love the company, I love X, Y, and Z, but some of the decisions by hierarchy for the pricing structure and things like that just doesn't make sense.
I do agree there. I've said it multiple times. It's kind of hard to agree with the decisions that have been basically all made under Jim Ryan. Yeah, this is still.
You've also got to think, Boxy, as well. Like, surely after so long, they could have come up with an implementation on the bottom, the vertical side of the PlayStation that would allow it, even if it's like kick flip legs or something like that, that flip open and then you can just clip them closed. Something that doesn't require you to screw in a stand. Like Xbox's implementation on the Series X, for instance, is built in initially. You can remove it if you want to remove it. Not that it needs to be. It's quite difficult to do unless you're taking the entire console apart. Yeah. But even if they did send that separately, they wouldn't charge 30 quid for it. They just wouldn't do it. And
I'm sorry, but
I don't understand how they haven't.
The stand of a console needs to be included in the base package.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, but even still, I don't understand how these these hardware engineers haven't figured out how to make the PlayStation stand up without a stand.
Yeah.
Like, you can surely implement some legs at the bottom of it that can flip out, or even just some rubber pegs at the bottom so it can stand up vertically without falling over. Surely it's not that hard to do.
Agreed.
It really,
I mean, I like the comparison you made. I've seen that actually quite a bit on the socials. Um, kind of feels like Apple. Yeah,
yeah,
and I have a lot of nostalgia for Sony. Obviously, I had all the PlayStations ever since the first one. They have some great IPs. They have some great games that I truly do enjoy. Really looking forward to Spider-Man, no doubt. But there are certain decisions over the last couple of years that Sony has made. It kind of makes it hard if you're not like a blind fanboy to get behind that company's strategy. May it be the straight out lies that they try to sell the PS5 on, like we believe in generations and stuff. May it be like they were the first one to increase prices. And now, obviously, everyone has adjusted. But they were the ones that raised game prices first. Stuff like that. And then that they still basically charge you for everything extra. It feels like you have to pay for everything extra. Like, how can cloud saves not be standard in the year 2023? Everyone does that for free. When you look at Steam, when you look at the Epic Store or Xbox, or, well, Nintendo doesn't do it. But that's a different conversation to be had. It kind of feels like you simply have to charge for everything extra. You always have to pay the extra fee for things that should be simply included in for you being a customer, and then they have completely fallen out of touch with the community. Yeah, there is, like, in the Jim Ryan days, in the help me out, Dutch. The predecessor of Jim.
Sean
Sean
Layden.
Layden, thank you. Days, like, it felt that they had a connection, that actually showed up to E3. They had the big presentations and they had the fan events and whatnot. Yeah. I remember when PS VR1 came out, they had like buses all over the place, at the marketplace in our town center was this big place. It felt you had, like, they had a connection to the players, and they completely lost track on that. And then I look at their roadmap. We've discussed this multiple times, how empty this looks after Spider-Man, and it's just hard to get excitement behind their strategy and the brand right now. Yeah. But yeah, that might just be me. I don't know.
No, I agree. I've no massive excitement behind PlayStation right now, and feel sorry for the genuine PlayStation fans, not the
Absolutely.
fanboys and diehards and plastic warriors, but the genuine fans of the brand or the games and what PlayStation used to stand for. Feel sorry for them because what they used to do and how they used to be, in terms of turning up and bringing and doing great things, is severely changing this gen. Like, they've had a few great games, don't get us wrong, but
Yeah.
what they've been doing as of late is just completely different. Like, they've been trying to match the market too much, that they're starting to stray away from what made them great.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that really has been the case since Jim Ryan was in charge, and after Sean Layden left.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why Sean Layden left, was because the hierarchy wanted to be what Jim Ryan had it under, and now Jim Ryan's potentially been disillusioned by it, and here we are now. So we don't even, so far, we don't have really anybody in place for Sony as of next year, and we don't have a pipeline after first party pipeline after Spider-Man next week. So,
well, we do have the games as a service titles. Are you not excited for them?
I'm not. You know what it is? I'm not. It's hard to be excited for any games as a service title. It really is. No matter how intriguing it looks, can you really be excited for a game that comes at you dribs and drabs? I don't think anyone could really get thoroughly excited for something like that. I can understand if there was a story premise behind it, but the vast majority of these service games don't have big stories behind them. And by that, I mean specifically the ones that Sony have touted are all shooters. Like, how many shooters have great stories? Like, primarily shooters. I don't mean like Starfield on screen that I've got on screen now, and you've got on screen actually as well. I don't mean that way. It has a shooting element, but it's mainly like a role playing game, an open world role playing game. But how many actual just shooter games have great stories? And then you translate
Wolfenstein comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah, but then how many shooter games that are live service?
I agree. I do agree, and I still think that this decision from them to actually move to like games as a service as the thing, is a mistake. What Sony has been lacking of are multiplayer games. But multiplayer games does not equal games as a service titles. I also think that this was a mistake with Halo. To be frank, they should have just kept it a regular multiplayer game and then drop the map packs. And then you have, like, I don't know, here are 10 new maps for $20 or whatnot, or 30. And this is what Sony has been lacking. They have. You don't need to in order to get multiplayer on your console and keep people engaged with your game. You don't have to go games as a service. You just have to make great multiplayer game. Yeah, something that people enjoy actually playing. And that would have been a much more brighter future if you just went into that direction. But going basically solely games as a service now is something, pardon me, that I don't think will turn out well for them. Obviously, they still have a lot of stuff unrevealed. Yeah, I mean, Naughty Dog is working on something. We know Ghost of Tsushima 2 is eventually coming, and so on. But even great studios that made great single-player games, like Bend Studios with Days Gone, which I still think is highly underrated, are apparently going now for a games as a service model. And this is so unnecessary. This is again, you can have success and keep your people, your players engaged with regular multiplayer games. You don't have to go games as a service. But yeah, so obviously PS5 Slim or whatever it's called. They didn't call it officially a Slim. They call it just a new PlayStation. But we shall see if this is going to be a success, and it'll be very interesting. Next year, honestly, will be a very, very interesting year for the video game industry as a whole, because a lot of interesting things are going to happen. Yeah. On the one side, for the first time ever, there is no, noteworthy first party.
You know what I've been thinking as well, there, Boxy, which is going to make it be a little bit more awkward.
Tell me.
At Christmas time, when both the old version PlayStations are on the shelf, and the new version redesigns are on the shelf, and then you've got the customizable plates that are on the shelf that only work on the old version, not the new version.
Yeah.
We're talking about weirdness of SKUs and how many SKUs are there and how much confusion that's going to be. What if parents buy the new version with the plates, and then they can't use the plates?
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do with the SKUs? Are they just going to disband the previous one, and then what the plates are going to be rendered useless because it's only valid for people that had the old model.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have to do a lot of R&D working on redesigned plates, customizable plates for the new model. Have already got those in the works. Like, there's a lot of weird things, especially right before Christmas. Like, it doesn't. It's a bit of a weird marketing thing to do, is introduce all these new customizable plates and a new SKU that you're not going to be selling.
Especially since their big game to sell the console on this year is Spider-Man.
Yeah, like, here's a brand new PlayStation 5, but we also want to sell you these customizable plates, but it doesn't work on it. It only works on the old one. Okay, so I'll buy the old PlayStation 5 so I can buy these plates.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be very interesting. And again, next year, super interesting. There's no noteworthy first-party release on PlayStation side of things for the first time probably ever. You know? So, and on the other side, Xbox is going to shoot on all cylinders, finally. Yeah, we have Hellblade, we have Avowed, we have smaller releases like Towerborn and such stuff coming. Then we have like major third-party exclusives like Stalker 2, and they all come into Game Pass day one. Then we have a lot of unannounced stuff. We know Flight Sim is obviously coming, a new one. Then we have a lot of unannounced things. We know that there will be at least 2 other major releases that we just don't know of yet. Whether it be something like South of Midnight or so already being ready, who knows? What Clockwork Revolution or when that will release, or if it's something we just don't know yet. Yeah, we will definitely see Indiana Jones next year. Whether it will release next year, it's written on another page, but you know what I mean. So Xbox firing on all cylinders, and PlayStation for the first time ever have a really dry year. And then at the same time, the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to release. So this is definitely going to be a very, very interesting year for gaming as a whole and the gaming industry. And on top of that, that's the first year where Microsoft owns ABK. Yeah. So we will see what will come out there over the course of the next year. Yeah. Definitely going to be very, very interesting. And we will be here to talk about all of it. So if you guys do enjoy these kind of talks here, make sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing if you're new. Would definitely appreciate that. As we roll into our next topic, have you played Max Payne?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Something really interesting with Sam Lake, you know, Remedy's studio head.
I'd love a new Max Payne.
You know, they don't own the IP anymore. Yeah, they've sold that IP to Rockstar, and obviously that's why Max Payne 3, which is also a great game, it just wasn't a Max Payne game, you know. Now I completely lost my train of thought. Remedy and Max Payne. So what they did is they came to an agreement with Rockstar that they gave them the license to do a remake of Max Payne 1 and 2. That's old news. Yeah, we already knew that this is in the works over there. But there was a big interview with Sam Lake, and he talked a lot about this remake. That it is really a big project. They are going to merge Max Payne 1 and 2 into one game. So it will not be like, okay, you boot up the screen and you can choose start Max Payne 1 or Max Payne 2. It will be one continued big game from Max Payne 1 and 2. They will obviously run it in the newest iteration of their engine, and they will also like do a complete overhaul of the way how the story is going to be told. Where Max Payne had like these, comic-y cutscenes, where they actually had like really a comic right there, and the story was told from the off. They will have like proper cutscenes and everything, and they will completely redo the combat system to adjust it to modern day standards. So yeah, hearing all of that, man, what do you think? Could this be a success? Does this sound like something you want to play?
Yeah, it's been a long. I mean, it's the game. I don't think the game really holds up too well these days. So I'd love to play a reimagined version of it. It's a very old game, but it was a good game. It was certainly very interesting for its time. It was in the same kind of time as Soldier of Fortune, etc. And it's games I grew up on. So I'd absolutely love to see a reimagined version of Max Payne, as long as the story in its core wasn't altered. Or the gameplay for that matter. Like the gameplay still needs to feel like Max Payne. You still need to have bullet dodging and stuff like that, and essentially still needs to feel Matrixy.
Yes. I mean, that was the thing about Max Payne, right? Bullet mode, and it's like,
yeah, it was absolutely awesome. So that needs to remain, and ultimately the ultimately, like I say, the story needs to stay the same. So as long as they don't alter that and they just kind of bring it up to modern day standards and make it look great, and I can kind of dig, instead of making a remake of 1 and 2, just merging 1 and 2 so that they blend together. So that 1 and 2, where 1 ends, then 2 begins immediately, and you don't have a break in between it.
Yeah, it's just one
then
gigantic
I can dig
game.
that. I can dig that. That's fine. That's not like Final Fantasy selling you Final Fantasy 7 in 3 parts.
Yeah.
For $70 a pop, and paying like 180 quid for the same game that you bought for 60 quid 20 years ago. But yeah, it's I'd dig it if it comes out, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Max Payne. Before I give my spiel on Max Payne, let me shout out Pyromat, who sends in a £2 super chat and says, will certain Affinity's Halo Battle Royale release in 2024? You would think that. But I've heard one thing from someone I trust, that this is going to be something much bigger. I have to be carefully now how to phrase that. Much bigger than just another mode like Battle Royale, and that this Halo thing at a certain affinity has evolved into something much bigger. Doesn't mean it won't come out next year, but to me it sounded like, okay, if they're going to do something really big with that, I don't think that it will come next year. I also believe that Microsoft does want to move away a little bit from the Halo, Forza, and Gears narrative. They had 2 Forzas now this gen, they had Halo this gen, and now it's time to shine with other first party releases first before Halo comes back. So I'm not sure about certain affinity next year. So yeah, we shall see. Exactly. So, but yeah, Max Payne. That was what we were talking about. And listen, man, Max Payne, when it came out, it melted my PC at the time. It was at its time. They did a couple of effects like volumetric fog for the first time right in a video game. They had like in this dark LA noir like setting, in this grim world where it was constantly raining. They had such great lighting effects with certain reflections, maybe from a lantern on the street or the cigarettes from the characters and so on. It was like really it captured a certain atmosphere, and the story, like you said, was just phenomenal. So definitely stick to the source material there. But when I heard that, I got so much nostalgia, and I was like, man, I want to play this now. I'm really excited for it because I loved Max Payne, all three of them. Although again, I still think like the Rockstar one was again a great game, but it did not capture that atmosphere that Max Payne 1 and 2 had, where, you know, Max Payne doesn't wear like a Hawaiian shirt and walks along the beach in bright sunlight. He just doesn't. He's out in the street with a leather coat, and it's raining and it's dark and there is no sunlight in this world, you know. That's pardon me, that's Max Payne. But yeah, when I heard all that, they merging the game, the latest version of their engine, adjusted combat, and all of that, proper cutscenes in the game. I'm really excited now for that remake. Unfortunately, no idea when that will come out. But since Alan Wake is coming out at the end of this month, Alan Wake 2, I would expect that it will be a while. I don't expect that game to come out before 25, honestly. But yeah. Anything else you want to add to Max Payne before we move on? All right then. So what else happened over the well, actually, the day we were supposed to have our last week podcast, Redfall dropped the 60 FPS patch. You've seen that, of course. So they delivered now in October what was promised at launch, which is, I mean, listen, it's always great to see a developer working on their game and improve it. And boy, there was a lot they could improve on Redfall. So I wanted to ask you, man, now that they've have the 60 FPS patch out, they also changed a couple of things. They put in more NPCs in the world, so it doesn't feel that empty. So they made certain gameplay changes there. Do you think this is enough to redeem Redfall? And will it be able to make a comeback or something?
Now, you see, it's not just the 60 FPS that's been changed as well, because they've, according to the patch notes, because I haven't tried it yet, and I was reluctant to try it again, but I might, just to see what it's like. But they've also increased the instances that you come across things and people in the open world.
Like I said, so increased NPC density, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So it could, and again, there's been games in far worse conditions come back from the dead. So you never know. You never know. Mm-hmm. Will people like it enough to continue playing it? Only time will tell. But you have to applaud them at the fact that despite the backlash, despite all the negative press, despite how poorly it was received by a lot of the public, they've still went out there, they've stuck to the word, they've brought out the 60 frames mode, they've improved the game, and they've increased some things in the game that will help make it a little bit more fun to play.
Yeah.
So you've got to applaud them on that they've stuck to the task and actually did what they've said they're going to do. More companies could learn from that. So despite having games that are what classed as failure or what classed as a fail, have went out there and did their utmost to turn that thing around. There's a lot of big companies that haven't bothered doing that.
That's true. That's true. Again, I always appreciate when developers stick to their word and when they try to improve their game that they've released. And at some point I kind of have to go back and see if this patch makes this now really a better game. I still believe that the problem of the game was not the 60 FPS, and it was not. Part of it was, of course, the world being or feeling empty. There were so many other things that were just not good, in my opinion, like the weird way how they presented the story, the very, very, very boring mission design, the super bad AI, the shooting just didn't feel good. It just felt like you're shooting paper clips all the time, and didn't matter which weapon you have. And if you have a shotgun that fires paper clips, it's just no fun. So I don't know. I just did not enjoy it, and I don't think that 60 FPS can or change that game, because I've played it actually at 60. I also played about 3 hours or so on PC when it came out, where it was 60, and it still wasn't a good game. But taste is obviously different, and if someone is out there enjoying the game, I do hope you guys do enjoy it, but I don't think it will help to bring it like back from the dead. And I've seen a lot of people make a lot of comparisons towards either Cyberpunk or other games that have been, launched in a buggy state and then improved over time. And the difference is, though, Cyberpunk always was at its core a great game. It just was. And I did not see that in a Redfall. But yeah.
I saw Redfall as just an okay game. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It was just okay. And that was always the issue for me with Redfall. It had nothing to do with the performance. It was just that it was an okay game.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's the thing. If your key game design, it just doesn't live up, a couple of patches won't do it. So yeah, let's see if this will bring people back to playing. But obviously, if you boot up now Game Pass and you have the option in between Redfall and Starfield, honestly, what you're going to play? I know 2 different games, but you know what I mean. So yeah, we shall see. We shall see. You know what other game is getting a new release, or probably getting it? It's obviously just a rumor that actually leaked through LinkedIn. The Last of Us 2 is getting a remaster. Thoughts on that, man? I mean, for those audio-only listeners, because your face tells everything.
Yeah. So, why do they keep doing this? Why just release a next-gen patch? Don't charge people for it.
Yeah.
Like a normal company, just release a next-gen patch for free that adds a little bit of more fidelity, gives a little bit better performance, and that's it. That's all you need to do. Don't keep reselling the same shit over and over again and milking your fan base. It is absolutely obscene. Stop it. Like, this game isn't old enough for it. Like, I literally bought a physical version of The Last of Us 2 for £8. Brand new, £8 in a sale. I do not intend to buy a next-gen version of that looks marginally different and performs marginally better for 70. Not a chance. And if anybody's going to do that, they need their head examined.
Yeah.
It is not worth it. It hasn't been out long enough to get a remaster.
Yeah,
an upgrade, a free upgrade, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But no,
I mean,
nothing else.
But you look at even companies like Ubisoft have like basically patched all their games into next gen, or not all, but all their latest games. Yeah. They all got the 60 FPS patch for free, like you said. And and here we see remaster after remaster released. I mean, again, it ties a little bit into the discussion we had earlier about the very empty looking roadmap, and it feels like, okay, gap filler, but again, buying that again at 70, as good as the game was, no doubt. I don't see myself doing that, but yeah, man. Let's move on to our community questions this week, because we have a lot of them, and there are a couple of great ones in there. So let's start with a question from Ninja Squirrel. Are you guys jumping back away from Halo with the Season 5 announcement made? Keep up the good work. We both appreciate you. Yeah, so first of all, thank you for the compliment. Season 5, Halo. What do you think, man?
Nope.
Firefights coming back.
I'm not. I'm done with Halo. I'm done with it.
Yeah, I kind of want to.
I'm glad people are having fun with it. John from Xbox Era is doing phenomenal work with his maps. Hats off to him. He's doing some really great work. And the guys there, and there's still so many people that are enjoying Halo. So hats off to them, and hats off to the communities that are building these specific maps.
Yeah.
But I'm done with Halo. Like, there's just so much out that I need to catch up on, and so many things that I've got literally after Starfield that I need to play, like Sea of Stars and everything like that. There's absolutely zero chance in the coming year, 2 years, 3 years that I'm going back to Halo again. It's just not. Unfortunately for me, Halo is done. Where that Halo community might straighten and evolve, good for them, but it's not for me.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I'm very similar. I want to check out Firefight, but you know, my problem definitely is it is a fantastic and a feeling game, but right now, if you log onto the servers, you're only playing against the pros, because that's all that is. Everyone who's playing now competitive multiplayer are like the hardcore. I'm just not good enough. Yeah, so that takes out a lot of the fun. Plus, there's just so much else to play. I'm really digging, still digging Starfield and Assassin's Creed Mirage and Spider-Man 2 coming next week, which I'm really looking forward to. And then we just roll on to Alan Wake 2, and I don't know where to find the time, man, to get back and become good at Halo. It's just. So Thanaros sends in a $2 super chat and asks this: what grade would you give Xbox this year and PlayStation? It's a good question. I mean, we will definitely in December do again our year in review show, which we have done for the last 4 years, also with Lord Cognito and Ainsley Bowden from Season Gaming. But where would you rate the two right now? On a scale from 1 to 10.
No, I'm going to give them school grades.
Now you come again with your weird ass UK school grades, which are
school grades.
I don't know what your grading system is, man. So let's use a scale from 1 to 10.
No, it's like A's and B's. You know, that's just the typical grading system.
A is the best, and what's the worst?
Like F.
Okay. So we do it like 1 to 6. Like 1 is the best, and 6 is the worst.
Then of course with like universities and things, you can get like A+ and A++, depending.
Yeah, we don't have plus here. It's like you get a 1.3 then, or 1.7 or whatever. Yeah.
Or merits or distinctions and stuff like that. But
so,
no, I would say for a school grading system, I would give Xbox probably a B+. certainly not without fault this year. There's still a few things they need to improve on the gaming front. They've definitely done a lot better, but again, we have to call this out. As good as the games have been this year, these are still games that were meant to be out last year that have been pushed to this year that we've eventually got.
Yeah.
Okay, next year is when we get games that weren't pushed from this year and are coming out next year that we are getting next year. So then we'll base the full merit of their achievements next year on an actual, okay, what is released when they said it's going to release, and how good is the quality of those games that they're going to release. But based on this year, on the gaming front, B+, they've got a few other things that they need to be a little bit more consistent on. They still need to marketing still needs a drastic improvement. But I think game showcases have been great this year.
Yeah.
We've potentially still got a couple more things coming up as well, so we'll see how that does. And then on Sony's front, I'm gonna have to just go a flat out D, like a flat out kind of below average rating there for Sony, because I mean, aside from a couple of games, the actual performance of the entire platform, yeah, they've released the PSVR2 and then haven't supported it.
Yeah.
They're releasing a PlayStation Portable, and then they haven't got anything really to use it for apart from your current games, and then it can only be used in the house anyway. And then they're going to release a revamped model of the PlayStation 5 with a kickstand that sells separately for $30, and then charge you $80 for a Blu-ray drive, increase the price of the digital version of the PlayStation, and immediately make the plates that they've made, customizable plates, redundant. So
yeah,
then they're losing the head of all of PlayStation. He's retiring, or it's forced retirement. They've having severe issues with trying to get any or all of the studios hitting the mark when it comes to any of these games that they're producing from a games as a service standpoint. And from a AAA standpoint, they have no pipeline. They have nothing. They've got Spider-Man, and it's Insomniac again that's doing the heavy lifting. I've seen a funny meme on Twitter, actually, where it's the new PlayStation's kickstand for it's lying down, and it's Insomniac's name on the kickstand.
That is a good one. Yeah.
It perfectly summarizes what Insomniac is to PlayStation. They are if PlayStation didn't have Insomniac this gen, they'd be screwed. They'd be utterly screwed, because they've released something like by the time this comes out, like 4 or 5 titles since the launch of PlayStation 5. It is, and I don't think next year is going to be much better for PlayStation. I think next year is going to be worse.
Yeah, it's good. At least this year they have Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What is comparable to that next
year? A couple of games this year. Next year, they've got nothing in comparison. They've got Rebirth, but that's not first party. They're going to claim it's first party, of course, because it's exclusive, but it isn't their own studio.
When it's only 3 months exclusive, and if the rumors are true, what we are hearing, it might just be the case that it will eventually that the Final Fantasy VII remake eventually will make it or make its way to Xbox. So, yeah. Listen, my assessment of this year so far, I would. Well, in your school grading system, I would also give them a D, maybe a D+. I think they lost, they missed a couple of opportunities this year. Like you said, they had VR2. Could have been great. They didn't support it. In terms of games, what actually came out this year? So far, we had really good Horizon Forbidden West DLC. Really enjoyed that. And of course, we're gonna have Spider-Man. So, not the best year, not the worst. They had a bad showcase, where they missed the chance to get excitement again around their brand. I just feel like what's there to get really excited about? The Slim is obviously not really worth getting or talking actually about it. And like you said, they missed the opportunity to generate an exciting roadmap on what's to come, what's next. Yeah, they laid out their plans in terms of games as a service, which just doesn't excite me, or to be frank, anyone I've seen at least. Yeah, they disappointed with the showcase. They're still gonna have Spider-Man, which is great. I think I would grade it definitely worse if it weren't for that. So yeah, in terms of Xbox, I have very mixed feelings here, because especially after the fantastic Starfield, it's kind of hard to remember how we felt in the first half of the year. But if I think about the first half of the year, I felt really let down by Xbox. We have seen so many fails on their end. They failed to deliver on their promise to release Starfield and Forza Motorsport in the first half of this year, after delaying the game both games already. Yeah. Then they released Redfall, which obviously was a very big disappointment.
Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah. Hang on. Exactly. They had the one thing in the very, very beginning that was super exciting, where we all thought, okay, this is gonna be Xbox's big year. In January they had the Developer Direct, which was a great format, yeah, which we haven't seen continued, by the way. They called the Starfield presentation a Developer Direct, but let's face it, that was just a lengthy presentation at the end of the showcase. I want to see that again, because it was fantastic what we had in January, and not just because Hi-Fi Rush dropped, but I like the format, and I want to see that like 3 times a year. Me being selfish, of course, but so yeah. And then we had like a lot of very difficult discussions there. Like we talked about it on the show so many times, about them not having the power narrative anymore, even though the hardware is more performant. Then we had the price increases of the consoles, and but then we had a fantastic showcase. Then we had the disappointing Redfall. So it had really its ups and downs and ups and downs. Now in the second half of this year so far, they are on fire. Obviously, Starfield nailed it. Forza is great. And they have an exciting roadmap to look forward to. So it's kind of hard, honestly, to grade Xbox if it weren't for some really big disappointments for me personally in the first half of this year. I was really disappointed in them delaying them again. I really felt let down earlier this year. And Redfall, again, I still don't think it was a good game. It was not even an okay game. I was very disappointed in them releasing such a game, especially after coming off a dry streak of like 18 to 20 months of nothing in terms of major releases. Yeah, the Pendiments and Hi-Fi Rushes, smaller releases, yeah, but and so it's kind of hard for me to grade them there. But since I really, really, really love Starfield, and I'm more than excited for the roadmap that has been presented, and if I think about the next 10 to 12 months of Xbox greatness, with Hellblade coming, Towerborn really looking cool, and so on, and Stalker 2 coming, I would say somewhere in between a B and C. I don't know in your grading system what that would be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's about B or C is fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that's above average.
So
and
maybe
again,
a little bit higher. Maybe that's, I don't know, because I really like Starfield. I think
Yeah.
that's going to be my game of the year.
And
So
I mean, the positive side of the fact that it didn't hit was that you could definitely see the benefits of Microsoft making the decision to delay that game a year.
yeah, absolutely. It turned out to be a fantastic and phenomenal game. And in hindsight, of course, you can say, yeah, you had to wait just another 6 months. The problem was that we were already waiting for like 18 months
Yeah,
for something to release. Yeah. Um, but yeah, again, I don't know. Maybe a B. I give it a B so far.
yeah, yeah.
Pyromat sends in a £5 super chat and says, Halo Infinite was never a bad game. It just had a problem with consistency of content in the multiplayer at launch, overly focused on microtransactions over updates. Yeah, man. We all said it. I've not seen anyone say, "Well, that's a bad Halo." Everyone enjoyed the campaign, the gunplay and gameplay. Really, they nailed it. The multiplayer was great, but it was just not enough content to keep people engaged. And once people drop out, they are usually out. They are only it's a small part of the player base that will come back in such a game. And I'm one of those. Again, I explained it a little earlier. If I log into Halo now, I'm just getting annihilated because only the pros are playing now. It's just not fun as a casual player. And that's the problem with those kind of games. Let's continue with our community questions, man. We digressed a little, man. We are getting back to our old grooves where we always digressed. So, Fanto Sarah sends in, I have a question. How did you guys get to be so awesome? I don't think we are awesome. The awesome part about this show is our community here, man. Shout out to you guys. And then we have two questions for you, man. Waller Weasel asks, or writes in and says this. First of all, huge respect to Dutch for making the mental health video. And I absolutely agree, man. It took some courage to do that. His question is for us. What's your favorite game to cheer you up when you're down?
It's a difficult one because with my mental health condition, there is no chance of playing anything or doing anything, and like having ADHD specifically, my attention isn't there even when I want it to be. So I might have all the intention in the world and really want to play something, but I'll turn it on and just stare at the screen and blank out, stare into space. My attention won't be there. I'll be like 5,000 things going on. So, unfortunately for me, that it's not something that is applicable because it's not something my mental health allows me to do as much as I want to do it. If I'm just feeling a little bit, just want to play by myself though, and it's not a mental health thing, then usually I like just chill games. It might not necessarily be like an RPG or anything like that. It might be just I want to fly around on Flight Sim for a bit and just chill out and have some music on in the background and fly around, or I might jump on Forza and just drive around for it to do a few laps and things like that. Or it could just be that I just want to just chill out and go on. I know it sounds silly, go on like a Minecraft and build something, or go on to Age of Empires and build a huge Civ that's like on not even casual, just like no terms, just build a massive city and a huge army and just admire kind of my OCD tendencies of making everything neat and tidy.
But then you can't play competitive in Age, because if your
No.
OCD kicks in competitive and you're trying to arrange everything in a beautiful way,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they're mine. They're mine specifically.
Sweet. For me, it's usually some comfort games, some and there are not that many where I like feel at home in this world. Skyrim is definitely one of them. The Witcher is one of them. When I feel down, like I can go. It's and of course that's because I've played it so many times. I just know the world. You know what you need to do. You don't have to stay focused all the time. Um, those are some of my comfort games, and I can definitely see Starfield becoming one of those. It's just so good, and you can just distract yourself in this kind of world. I tend to stay away from multiplayer games when I feel down or feel like I need to really relax, because I'm always like my adrenaline is through the roof when I'm playing Age. Like I'm a hyper focus, and you know, um, which by the way, the new season in Age 4 is absolutely awesome. I, ju- I just have to tell you that it's a phenomenal new season, man. But yeah, last question of the day comes in from Pyromad, and uh, this is a little bit a longer one, but it's also something for you, man. If possible, instead of a question, I'd like you both to talk a little bit about how the medium of video games helps with your mental health. For me, it's more than escapism. Games help me process emotions I can't tap into directly, be it through characters, struggles, obstacles, or even a channel of my frustration, anger into waves of enemies, and can help me get out of my head when I'm overwhelmed.
It's a good question. It's a good question. Depends on this. On the, I mean, I'll let you go first because mine's a bit more complex.
So, yeah, I mean, what is gaming for me? Gaming is my biggest hobby. I play games in all kinds of states. I play games when I'm happy. I play games when I'm exhausted. I sometimes play games when I'm super annoyed to calm me down. So and I play games when I'm just down. And to cheer me up. So I play games in all kinds of mood states. And but to me, gaming has become, over the last, I want to say 10 to 15 years, so much more than just playing video games. I've found so many friends over gaming that I talk to on a regular basis. You're one of them, yeah. I have this amazing community that I can be a part of, which is also to me a part of gaming. Being out there and having a conversation on Twitter or on the Discord or in the DMs or whatnot, about gaming, about the stuff that I'm excited about. This is also a part for me, and this is also a good channel for me. My actual job is kind of stressful, and having family can also be. I love my family. Don't get me wrong, but it can also be stressful, and juggling those two. And gaming is just for me like a vent. It amplifies all kinds of moods. It brings me out of bad moods into good moods. If I'm in a good mood, I'm enjoying it even more. It's just my go-to thing that I need to, I don't know how to phrase that properly, to stay intact. If you would take that away from me, I would not have no idea how to channel all the real life stuff, and deal with that. I just need that, and I'm in the lucky position to have a wife that understands that. She knows exactly when I come home after 12 hours of work and the kids start screaming because they don't want to go to bed, and that she just leaves me alone for an hour or two in my man cave, because she exactly knows this is now what he needs. He doesn't need like comforting talk or anything. He just needs shoot some weird artificial alien in the head. And that's just how I work. I don't know about you, man.
Yeah. For me, it's obviously it's a bit different. So it depends on what state my mind is in on any particular given day. So if I'm in a hyper focus time, which is one of the glorious side effects of ADHD, then I can blitz through a game in any given minute or an entire week, or over a weekend I can just finish a game, like finish God of War Ragnarok's campaign in like the opening 2 days, and then finish off the rest of it inside another couple of days after that. Similar with the first God of War, I did that, and with Cyberpunk when that launched, I blitzed through that. And with Hogwarts, I had a hyper focus kind of week with that, and I was just absolutely just all over that thing, just didn't budge from it. But then I have my other moments where, and this is just outside of kind of mental health issues, just generally life things. So, like you, I'm a broker by trade. And as of right now, I'm technically working for 3 individual companies at the same time, outside of doing content creation. So I've got that during the day, and then content creation, and then any personal life that goes in between that as well, and then trying to keep my mental health sorted, which is a mixture between doing, it could be working out or training or something like that, just to keep my head busy, or going for a walk or something like that. So when I do get a chance to game, it is, I would say it's an escape. I like, as much as I like playing multiplayer games at times with friends, I love the peace and tranquility of coming in and just chilling out with something and just relaxing. I love a good story game. If the story catches us deeply, then I'll love to just get engrossed in a good story game, and just dive into that, and just kind of block out the stories or things that are going on in real life, and try to forget those, and just be all absorbed into whatever is happening in that game. And like I say, thankfully it's happened a few times already, kind of this gen, where I've been absolutely engrossed in those things. So I would say for a lot of people, for me, for Boxy, it is an escape from our regular things. It's a way to be able to express ourselves that other mediums cannot allow us to express and don't allow us to express. So it's part of what I would call as a good balanced diet of keeping your mind in check. And I think without it, it would be a bit of a struggle. I think 100%.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right. Great community questions this week, man. Definitely. But I think we are at the end of this show. I want to say a big thank you for everyone who turned up today. We had some awesome discussions also in the chat. This is really something I wish I could reply to more messages in the chat. I'm simply not good enough in hosting, talking, doing OBS stuff, and in the chat, being active more in the chat. But I've seen so many great conversations from our community there, which is simply fantastic. So again, a big thank you to everyone who showed up, and Dutch, a big thank you that you made it, even though you're still struggling with COVID here. So let people know once you are healthy again and got rid of the chest infection and everything, what you coming up? Because you have a lot of stuff planned, man.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good to be back slowly but surely. Thanks for taking the reins tonight and hosting it, because topics wise, I wouldn't have had a clue where to start, and my mind wouldn't have really been able to piece everything together. But yeah, I'm jumping back on Twitch for the first time in a year. December 22 was the last time I was on Twitch.
What made you go back?
It's I've still got a community over there. I'm still affiliate, so we can still generate a revenue stream over there without having to start from scratch. But Twitch is also really great for discoverability when you're doing game streams. Now, I've been doing game streams on YouTube for a little while now, and you don't get much discoverability. And I'm still going to do a game stream every week on YouTube, but I'm going to really focus on putting the game streaming side of things onto Twitch, and keep the more content creation side of that on YouTube, which is the podcasting or videos and things like that. That's going to be YouTube with the once a week game stream, whereas Twitch is going to have 3 game streams a week instead. So it's going to have a Tuesday and a Friday and a Saturday evening. And of course, the Tuesday is going to be a little bit shorter. It's going to be like a couple of hours. But the Fridays and Saturdays, with them being the weekend, are going to be long, fun game streams. So it should be good. And of course, next month we've got our usual annual charity event. So we're going to be raising money for Special Effect. We're going to be streaming all for an entire week next month. And as usual, we finish off at the end of the week with we finish off the week with a 24-hour stream. So I'm looking forward to doing it. I was super ill last year, so hopefully with having COVID now and having my mental health issues, or at least the worst of what I think it could be for this year, out the way of. Now, then hopefully by the time the charity stuff comes up, I'll be in pretty good health, and ready to rock and roll for a good 24 hours straight. So we'll see if we can smash the target now. But we're all raising for Special Effect again this year. So let's see if we can smash our targets. But it's going to be fun. But that's the main thing of what we've got coming up over the next few weeks anyway. So usual podcasting, Twitch every Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. YouTube every Monday is a game stream. Every Wednesday is the podcast, and that's it.
Sweet. So a lot of content coming there. We will of course be back next week, hopefully with a guest. Not confirmed yet. It's sometimes hard to get the guests, especially from the US, because it's the middle of the day for them. But we will hopefully make it. And again, I want to say a big thank you to everyone in the chat. A big thank you, of course, for all the super chats and the channel memberships. The support really helps, when we super appreciate that. Other than that, again, I will be out on the streets of Twitter. I will be playing a lot of Assassin's Creed and Forza over the next days. And I see you guys next week. And don't forget to game on.